Hi guys, so welcome back to our channel. Today's video is all going to be about how we've used the principles of permaculture to upgrade and redesign our chicken setup here. And the reason we did this was to reduce the input and maximize the output. So reduce how much work and effort it takes for us to manage and look after our chickens, and maximize what we're going to get back in return. Hi guys, so welcome back to our channel. I'm Barry, if you haven't been here before. We're in the south of Ireland. It's a zone 8 temperate oceanic climate here, and this video, like I said, is going to be all about using the permaculture principles to redesign our chicken system that we have here. So there's so many different reasons to keep chickens, and in a permaculture system, chickens are a must. They supply us with an abundance of protein in the form of meat or eggs. They have so many uses: pecking and scratching the ground, great for fertilizing, cleaning up all crop residue on beds, and we are also using them here now for a compost system. So they're making compost within their enclosure. So when we came to setting up here, we knew we wanted the chickens to be close to the compost area, as we wanted to have multiple ways of composting. One was going to be inside the actual pen and run, and we wanted to have a compost area outside, and down the line we planned that the chickens would be able to free range around this extended compost yard, which would be a great source of protein for the chickens as well. There'd be so many insects and bugs and some other biodiversity that they could always have something to eat. So when designing this garden here and placing the chickens within the whole system, we looked at where we were going to place the compost system as well as the chickens, as we wanted to compost with the chickens, but we also wanted to have a separate hot composting system where the chickens could have access to that. When we came here initially, we wanted to have a run that we could enclose the chickens in and set them up, and so that they'd be safe and free from predators. After about 3 months, once we got more established here, we got another 10 chickens, so we moved our flock number up to about 20 hens. So now that we have 20 hens, we were able to extend our chicken run to incorporate that into this extended chicken yard, and I'll give you a look at some of the other systems we put in place. The goal is to reduce the maintenance and the feed cost to zero eventually, and we do a nice bit of travelling, myself and Yvonne. We compete in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, so we're away a lot of weekends, so we want the chickens to be able to find their own food within the system, so that we don't have to be putting in time to feed them, collect the eggs, clean them, and do all this kind of stuff as well, that they can actually maintain themselves for a few days without human input. So let's have a quick look now at some of the different systems in place and some of the different things we added into this system to make it what it is. Also, if any of you have any other ideas, things that I'm missing here, I'd love to hear it in the comments. I'd love to be able to share my experience with my hens with you, and I'd like people to be able to give me back feedback, and if there's any recommendations, I'd love to hear them in the comments. So what we have here now in front of us is our extended chicken yard area, which is a wood chip area here where the chickens can free range, and we have our compost area here on the right setup. On the left, we banked off this area. It's our fruit section, so we've got a lot of strawberries, about 100 strawberry plants, and we also have 6 or 7 fruit trees planted into the banks as well, with some other fruit bushes in the background. We've used some fencing here to stop the chickens from getting in. It's quite difficult. This whole area is actually fenced off from to stop the chickens to get out, so they have access this entire area except for this garden here. they are quite difficult to keep out. We clipped their wings initially, but they can fly pretty well. So as you can see, we put the pallets up, but we just put some fencing then on top, just a welded wire box mesh to keep the chickens from getting up over this. Also as well, while the trees are getting established, we use these old chimney pots here to stop the chickens from pecking at the roots and scratching at the trees. We also use some more welded box 1-inch wire to stop the chickens as well, with some bricks around the base to stop them scratching at the roots. Here's our compost system. So the chickens love when we turn the compost, they just flock in, pecking away anytime we're getting out some compost, and it's a great way for them to scratch and peck and get some snacks and bugs from the compost piles. Also, the benefit of the wood floor here, there's always something for the chickens underneath it. Here, this might look messy, but there's some method to the madness. This is, I decided at the beginning that I was going to leave this pile of wood here to increase biodiversity. So this is just jam-packed full of crevices for wood lice and different little insects and bugs. The chickens are often up here scratching and pecking, so again, another great place for them to get a quick meal. And this is the original chicken pen here and coop that you might have seen in some of our other videos. So the fencing here is mostly around 7 foot tall, so it keeps the chickens in, keeps the predators out, and we're about 24 inches down as well. The fence goes into the ground to stop anything from digging in. So we put the chickens in here most evenings as well. We lock them in and they go into their coop. As you can see there, we have a chicken guard, chicken door, which opens at first light and closes when it gets dark, and it's been absolutely fantastic. So we can leave the chickens, they go in when they want, and since we've put it in, we've never had an issue with a chicken getting locked outside or anything like that. So this has been absolutely invaluable to keep the chickens. And for whatever reason, if we don't come down and lock this gate, the chickens will still go in and get locked in at night and are safe. So one of the things here, we have a 15-litre water drum, which is absolutely fantastic for giving water for the chickens. Probably fill it up every 4 days for 4 or 5 days for 20 chickens. It's completely enclosed, so no dirt or anything else can get into it, so we know that they always have nice, good, clean water. Someone gave me a tip recently to put a few cloves of garlic every 2 or 3 weeks into the water container. It's meant to be very good for the chickens' health as well. So here now is the compost system. So this is how we do primarily all our chicken composting. So whatever is inside the coop, if we use straw at the moment for a bedding. So we use straw for the bedding inside the chicken house. So we take it out, it comes onto the floor here, and we move it in an L. In this section here, anything, scraps from the garden, food waste from the house, all goes into the system here, and slowly but surely it gets turned towards the end here. This compost here now is pretty much finished, just to be taken out and sieved. And what I do then as well, we have a worm farm here. Every month or so, or every couple of weeks, as I turn this over, I dig in a fork full of worms into the end and leave them at the base of the pile. It helps with the breakdown of the pile, and also keeps the chickens interested in the actual pile, so they'll dig and peck and scratch away to get at the worms. So we've made a few improvements to the coop since initially setting it up. So this was designed initially by myself. The house are 10 chickens at the beginning. I since then have installed the chicken door as well. The nest boxes, I just found that it was a bit of a hassle to open the door at the back and get the eggs from the nest boxes, so we fitted this outside nest box and put some felt on the roof, and it just lifts up nice and simple. Eggs are inside, easily accessed, 4 nest boxes, nice and simple. Also as well, we decided to we were using like branches and stuff like that as roosting bars for the chickens, so we just changed this up to a step type roosting bar system. So we have about 4 chickens per bar, and we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 bars on this, so, and there's space in the front and space in the back for the chickens. So our house is about at capacity at the moment with 20 chickens, so if I was to get more, I'll have to extend. They're pretty good. They all use the nesting bars, and the back area here is where they foul onto. We take that out and put it onto the pile. Another thing we do use this house for is for inoculating biochar. So underneath this straw, we put a layer of biochar in there, and that just naturally passively gets inoculated and gets added to the compost system, where in turn then slowly but surely it gets added to the garden. So it's a nice easy passive way to inoculate your biochar. So our plans as well for the summer is to grow a lot of crops around this garden here in the background that will come over the fence and give the chickens something to eat, so they'll be able to peck through. So we will be growing peas on the far side of this area here, so the peas will be able to grow up and pass through the fence and give the chickens something to peck at and scratch at. And the last thing then is the chicken gardens we've set up here at the back. So we use some old fencing to set up 3 separate 1.5 meter square areas at the back. So any seedlings that we have left over in the polytunnel that we, because we always put on a bit extra, so any waste seedlings we plant into the soil back here at the back. The chickens can't get in here at the moment. We also put a pear tree and a cherry tree in here as well. So this is building up a store of food for the chickens. We've got the trees and all the seedlings, and we're going to grow these up, and then every 2 weeks in the summer we'll open one of the gates and leave the chickens in. So it'll be a 6-week rotating chicken fodder system, which allows the chickens to have access to fresh grown vegetables for their to pick through and to eat. The soil is going to be super fertile as well in there, as it was it's getting fertilized by the chickens in turn as well. Another reason for this as well is if we know we're going to be going away for a few days and we're not going to be able to feed the chickens, we can open up these 3 bays and the chickens will be able to go in there and get access to food and keep them sated for a few days. If there's anything I could be doing here that I'm missing out on, I'd love to hear some feedback. So we will reevaluate our system again in a couple of months' time, and whatever we've learned from it, whatever works, we'll feed back into it. Whatever doesn't work, we'll take it out and we'll try something else. But if anyone else has any other ideas or is doing something similar at home, just put it into the comments. I'd love to hear some more. So that's it, guys. Thanks very much for watching. Talk to you again soon. Bye.
Wow, it's my finger.